The story begins with a news television reports of the mysterious vigilante known as the Punisher. Over the past 5 years, 125 mobsters have been killed, and the police are no closer to identifying the perpetrator. After being acquitted of all charges in a high-profile trial, much to the frustration of law enforcement and the public, mob boss Dino Moretti leaves the courthouse. As he departs, a man on a motorcycle follows them. At his lavish mansion, Moretti plans to celebrate his freedom, but instructs his guards to secure the perimeter first. Unbeknownst to them, the Punisher infiltrates the estate. Dressed in black leather and heavily armed, he silently takes down the guards using stealth tactics and silenced weapons. Realizing he's in danger, Moretti draws his gun. The Punisher ambushes him, and a gunshot rings out. The press outside rushes into the mansion. Suddenly, a bomb explodes inside. Moretti emerges and collapses, stabbed in the back with a dagger bearing a skull emblem on the handle. The Punisher appears as a shadowy figure, and the building erupts in a massive explosion. Beneath the city's streets, in the labyrinthine sewers, the Punisher Frank Castle resides in a makeshift lair. Flashbacks reveal his once happy life with his wife and 2 daughters, tragically ended by a car bomb meant for him. Later that night, the crime scene is bustling with law enforcement and media. Detective Jake Berkowitz is introduced as he arrives at the crime scene. Berkowitz has been investigating the Punisher's activities and is visibly frustrated by Frank's apparent vigilante justice. On one hand, he understands Frank's motives, but on the other, he knows the Punisher's methods are outside the law. He is joined by his new partner, Detective Samantha Sam Leary, a determined and insightful officer, eager to prove herself. Before Jake drive away, Leary hints at her suspicion that the Punisher could be Berkowitz's former partner, Frank Castle, who was presumed dead along with his family 5 years prior. Gianni Franco, a high-ranking member of the Italian mafia, has returned to New York to reunite the fragmented crime families. With Moretti's death, Franco plans to take control of all organized crime in the city. He discusses his strategy to dominate the drug trade involving 500 kilograms of heroin valued at $500 million. Frank obtains information from Shake, a former stage actor turned homeless man who communicates in rhymes and Shakespearean quotes. In exchange for a bottle of liquor, Shake reveals that all the city's mob bosses are collaborating on a deal with the French mob. Before the deal takes place at the yacht dock under the cover of night, the mobsters are ambushed by a group of men in diving suits. Frank intervenes, joining the fight and taking down several attackers, but he is injured and falls into the water. He manages to return to his lair, where he treats his wounds. The Yakuza, a formidable Japanese crime syndicate headed by Lady Tanaka, arrives in New York to assert their dominance. Gianni Franco and the mob leaders meet with Lady Tanaka. She demands a hefty 75% share of all operations, warning of violent consequences if they refuse. She also claims responsibility for the attack at the docks. Franco, however, arrogantly rejects her proposal. In a strategic move, Lady Tanaka orders the kidnapping of the children of all the top mafia bosses to ensure their compliance. The scene shows Yakuza members kidnapping children from different locations, including Franco's young son Tommy. Realizing the threat posed by the Yakuza, Franco convenes a meeting with the mob leaders. Franco proposes uniting the fragmented mob families to reclaim their power and protect their interests. Some are skeptical, but desperation leads them to agree. Shake informs Frank about an illegal casino run by the Yakuza, serving as a front for their operations. Armed to the teeth, Frank infiltrates the casino, emerging on the roof to take the guards by surprise. He overpowers them and unleashes a barrage of gunfire from a machine gun, destroying the slot machines and wreaking havoc on the casino. News of the kidnappings reaches Frank through Shake. Initially dismissive, seeing it as criminals preying on each other, Frank is soon plagued by memories of his own children. Determined, he and Shake follow a lead to the location of the kidnapped children, which brings Frank to an abandoned amusement park. There, he infiltrates the facility and discovers a group of Yakuza ninjas conducting a weapons deal. However, Frank is overpowered and captured, along with Shake. Lady Tanaka interrogates them, demanding to know who sent him, before leaving them in the hands of her guards. Frank manages to break free, kill the guards, and rescue Shake. Together, they interrogate a remaining guard, extracting the location of the kidnapped children. The mob bosses, meeting without Franco, gather at a restaurant. Lady Tanaka and her adopted daughter arrive, visibly displeased by Franco's clever absence. As the mob boss's guards prepare to shoot her, other patrons unexpectedly kill the guards, revealing themselves as her hidden allies. Unfazed, Lady Tanaka calmly reveals she has already poisoned the mob boss's drinks, and they collapse dead moments later. Frank hijacks a bus and drives to the warehouse where the kidnapped children are being held. After overpowering the guards, he frees the children but is forced to leave one boy, Tommy, behind due to time constraints. Escaping with the rest of the children, Frank races through the city streets in a high-speed chase, skillfully outmaneuvering and destroying the pursuing Yakuza car. He successfully delivers the rescued children to the waiting police at a blockade. However, Frank is eventually arrested. Meanwhile, Franco sits in his son's bedroom, watching the news of Frank's arrest. Later, Berkowitz confronts Frank in jail, emotionally recounting their past partnership and the devastation of losing him. Frank remains silent despite Berkowitz's probing questions. While being transported to a maximum security facility, Frank's convoy is ambushed by Franco's henchmen. They capture Frank and bring him to Franco, who reveals that he orchestrated the murder of Frank's family, but claims he can't undo the past. Acknowledging he cannot rescue his son Tommy alone, Franco reluctantly asks for Frank's help. Frank initially refuses, but Franco escalates the situation by bringing in Berkowitz and threatening to shoot him. Forced into a corner, Frank agrees to assist, but he vows that once the mission is over, he will return to hunt down and kill Franco. Frank, Franco, and Shake prepare for the assault. Meanwhile, Berkowitz frees himself and overpowers his captors. Frank and Franco infiltrate the Yakuza's skyscraper, with Frank expertly disabling alarms and bypassing security systems, aided by Shake. As they make their way up the building, they face relentless resistance, engaging in intense firefights in narrow hallways and opulent rooms decorated with Japanese art. Frank demonstrates his exceptional combat skills, using hand-to-hand techniques, firearms, and improvised weapons to take down enemies. Meanwhile, Shake successfully sabotages the building's power. On the upper floors, Franco reaches Lady Tanaka's private quarters, where she threatens him by holding a knife to his son's throat. Meanwhile, Frank faces off against Lady Tanaka's adopted daughter, a highly skilled assassin trained in martial arts. Their battle is a deadly and intense clash of precision and power. Despite suffering injuries, Frank ultimately defeats and kills her. Back in the quarters, Lady Tanaka forces Franco to kneel and put a gun in his mouth, ordering him to take his own life. Before Franco can comply, Frank arrives just in time and kills Lady Tanaka by hurling a dagger into her head. Franco reveals his true intentions, aiming to eliminate Frank as a future threat and reclaim his criminal empire unopposed. As Franco prepares to kill Frank, he is momentarily distracted when a shocked Tommy witnesses his father betraying their rescuer. In the chaos, Frank seizes the chance to disarm and mortally wound Franco, who collapses to the floor. Tommy picks up a gun and points it at Frank. Kneeling before him, Frank calmly tells Tommy to pull the trigger, but the boy hesitates, unable to do it. Frank urges Tommy to make better choices than his father, warning that if he doesn't, Frank will return for him. As police lights flash outside, Frank vanishes into the shadows. Berkowitz arrives to find the aftermath of the confrontation, with Tommy visibly shaken. Desperate to find Frank, Berkowitz searches the building, but Frank is already gone. Standing atop the building, Berkowitz yells Frank's name into the night. The film closes with Frank back in his sewer hideout, vowing to continue his war on crime. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.